Our brains are always active, whether we're alert and interacting with our environments, or fast asleep and dreaming. Our brains are responsible for keeping us alive and processing information from the external world in order to create our own personal mental worlds. Throughout the history of psychology, scientists have debated whether psychological processes are distributed throughout the brain or located in specific areas. The development of modern brain imaging methods in the late 1980s gave us the ability to study the ongoing mental activity in a working brain and has helped us to learn a great deal about how the brain works. We now know that the brain consists of an assortment of highly specialized areas that can be linked with particular behaviors and mental processes. We can view the modern brain as a collection of interacting neural circuits that humans developed and accumulated over the course of evolution. As humans adapted to their environments, their brains evolved specialized mechanisms essential for survival, like regulating breathing and eating, and sensing and interacting with the environment. Some of these neural circuits have evolved very little, while others have grown and advanced to support our impressive abilities for complex thought and communication. The brain contains gray matter, the cell bodies of neurons, and white matter, the axons of neurons. The brain is made up of the brainstem, cerebellum, cerebral cortex, and the subcortical structures. As the spinal cord continues up into the base of the skull, it becomes thicker and more elaborate, transforming into the brainstem. The brainstem regulates basic activities that are important for survival, such as breathing, swallowing, and urination. The brainstem contains white matter tracts that ascend to the brain with sensory information and descend to the body with motor signals. The cerebellum is the infolded protrusion at the back of the brain, behind the brainstem. It is essential for coordinating balance and skilled movement. Above the brainstem and cerebellum are the left and right cerebral hemispheres. The two hemispheres are connected by a wide band of neural fibers called the corpus callosum. The cerebral cortex is a layered sheet of neurons that covers the surface of the brain. The sheet is folded in on itself many times to fit inside the skull, giving the brain its distinctive wrinkled appearance. The cortex is the site of complex thought and behavior. The cortex is made up of different cortical areas that are interconnected with each other, subcortical structures, in the cerebellum and brainstem. The subcortical structures are below the cerebral cortex, separating it from the evolutionarily older brainstem and cerebellum. Subcortical structures play key roles in emotion, memory, relaying sensory information, and controlling basic drives such as eating and drinking. Each cerebral hemisphere is subdivided into 4 exterior lobes: occipital, temporal, parietal, and frontal. The occipital lobes are at the back of the cortex. They are primarily responsible for vision. The temporal lobes are at the bottom of the cortex, anterior to the occipital lobe and inferior to the parietal lobe. They are important for memory, language, visual object recognition, and audition, the sense of hearing. The temporal lobes contain the hippocampus and amygdala. The parietal lobes are at the top of the cortex, anterior to the occipital lobe, posterior to the frontal lobe, and superior to the temporal lobe. They are important for the representation of space, somatosensation, and the sense of touch. The frontal lobes are at the front of the cortex, anterior to the parietal lobe. They are important for more advanced functions like thought, planning, language, motor control, and coordinating information received through multiple senses. The prefrontal lobes are the frontmost section of the frontal lobes. This region is especially prominent in humans. They are important for attention, working memory, decision-making, appropriate social actions, and the planning and execution of behavior.